Hey there, friends. I have a review slash look at a deck for you. This is an indie deck. It is called the Natural Ink Tarot. It will be a positive review for folks who enjoy Rider-Waite-Smith decks. It is a Rider-Waite-Smith deck. It looks very much like the Rider-Waite-Smith deck did originally, with some differences in terms, first of all, of the fact that it's a round deck. And it is repainted, resketched with handmade inks. And so I'll just sort of show you the back here. I'll read the back. Actually, let me zoom in because this is it's a small deck, which is not a bad thing. So it says the Natural Ink Tarot. This is from the author Martha Miller, from the artist. The Natural Ink Tarot is my homage to psychic and artist Pamela Colman Smith. And her mystical visionary illustrations for the Waite-Smith deck. The Natural Ink Tarot images are based on Smith's illustrations and were drawn with inks I made from foraged natural materials, including beets, black walnuts, acorn caps, oak galls, wild grapes, copper, rust, turmeric, and elderberries. I believe that these natural ingredients add a little extra magic to the cards, and it is my hope that the Natural Ink Tarot will bring a little extra magic and guidance to your days. So it's a round Rider-Waite-Smith deck that is repainted, redrawn with natural handmade inks. And I like it a lot. So I'm going to show it to you. This won't be a long review because it's the Waite-Smith deck. There is a substantial amount of skin tone diversity, which I think for Waite-Smith fans will be a positive thing. And I really like the fluid, sort of lovely, hand-painted, inky, watercolory style of it. Aside from that, it's a round deck, and it's the Waite-Smith cards. So we will look at them together. This is the back, which is really nice and earthy. There's no real changes to the cards in particular. You know, there's some subtle little things that I think bring it into a more representational milieu, to use a really pretentious word. For example, the headscarf here on the Magician. But it's really nicely done. And I don't have a lot of round decks. I only have one other round deck. And so I saw this and thought, what a nice little thing to feature. Obviously the Empress, the Emperor, the Hierophant, the Lovers. I haven't shuffled this yet, but I will on camera. The Chariot, Strength, the Hermit. It's lovely. Maybe I can zoom in a little bit more. The Wheel of Fortune, which feels particularly apt for a round deck. Justice. The Hanged One, Hanged Man. Death. Temperance. The Devil. So if you're not a fan of the Waite-Smith deck, you will likely not be a fan of this, and that makes sense, because, again, it's the Waite-Smith deck. I don't use Waite-Smith decks much, but I'm not opposed to, with modern caveats, that they are more representational, and that they're, you know, kind of cooler. There's something cool or different, and I think that this sort of offers that. So here we get into the Suit of Wands. But again, like I've said, like if you don't like the Waite-Smith deck, it ain't gonna sing to you. I have some client readings to do this weekend, and I may actually use this just to sort of see how it feels to sort of work with a round deck, especially in larger spreads, because you know that I don't read reversals, so that's an interesting thing with a round deck, because you really do get any potential combination of orientations. But the artist did a nice job. It's very free-flowing and inky, which I know I keep using, which makes sense for a deck called the Natural Ink Tarot. But I love watercolor, I love inks, and so in that regard I think it's really successful. I think the Suit of Pentacles really looks beautiful in this color palette. I don't know if this was printed using more natural or environmentally friendly techniques. I don't know where this was printed. Honestly, it looks like a make playing card joint based on the box, but I don't know for sure. And I don't remember seeing on the artist Etsy shop, which I will leave below. But I think it's really sort of if you're looking for a more representational Waite-Smith deck, then this might be it. And certainly if you want to experiment with round decks and you don't want to sort of use a big hole punch to punch out your own cards, this is another way to do it. So, and it's an indie-produced work of art. So, it's interesting. As I'm doing this, it's September 2nd, which was supposed to be the day of the release of the sort of famous Weiser Tarot that we're supposed to see this year, which is supposed to be a sort of similarly inky, watercolory, and representational tarot iteration of the Waite-Smith Tarot, and I really have not been that interested in what mass marketers are putting out, but I'm interested in seeing how actually representational that deck ends up being, because it's not only supposed to be representational of skin tone, it's also supposed to be representational of body type, sexuality, queerness, etc. So I want to see if what the ratio is in that regard. I'm really curious. If anyone's gotten their hands on it, I'm curious to let me know. I have it on pre-order, but I've also been sort of looking at the shelves to see what we see. Hey, this is future me inserting myself into past me's video. Just to tell you, I did sort of divide the deck into parts of the deck where you can't see the face or there's no human, to very clearly white or white passing, or to very clearly people of color. There's about... oh god, now I can't remember. There's like 16 with no people. There's like 21 with white people, and then the rest 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. So about 31 where it's either sort of, with a clothing with the headdress, in this case, suggesting non-white or actually clearly non-white. So actually the ratio is tips toward people of color, which may be interesting to some folks. Other folks get pissed off when I talk about that kind of level of specificity, but it's interesting. So anyway, back to me talking about this deck. There are those who I think rightfully find the Waite-Smith tradition problematic, and who, no matter how representational or varied the skin tones may be, are turned off from the Waite-Smith for various reasons. My big turnoff for it is the Christian imagery. I don't love more and more the Kabbalistic sort of theft that the Golden Dawn participated in. And, there's a fairly colonial attitude to the Britishness of the deck, and certainly there's some conversation. There's a perception that Pamela Colman Smith was herself a woman of color. There's also some evidence that suggests that she really was pretending or passing as a woman of color to create a sense of, exoticism, which, we would find very complicated today. So it's an interesting conversation. I sort of stay engaged in hearing what the latest evidence suggests, but it is a thing that complicates the deck. So the little extra card just says what the original backing says. So I do have a round deck that I can riffle shuffle. I don't know that this is riffle shuffleable. It feels a little too small. Yeah, it's stiff. So you kind of could, but this is definitely a situation that I think you're going to have to overhand. It's so weird shuffling a round deck. The only other round deck I have is the New Earth Tarot, which I pulled out the other day. Which I like. I'm sort of keeping it out to sort of experiment with. One of the things that I require in a deck is that I enjoy shuffling it, and one reason that I don't use round decks or haven't really pursued them much is because they are kind of notoriously difficult to shuffle unless you kind of do a spread out on the table situation and just kind of draw randomly, which I generally don't do because I find it messy. Although with round decks, you're going to get... So you can see I'm struggling a little bit. The card stock is pretty standard playing card, or like, again, I think it feels make playing cards. So the cards flipping and falling out really don't have to do with the card stock as much as the fact that it's round, and I'm not used to shuffling a round deck. Now, I also rarely reorder decks, so once a deck is pretty well mixed, it's not really an issue. I don't have to shuffle for hours and hours and hours. And I don't use pop-outs, because usually the pop-outs are a result either of a difficult-to-shuffle deck or being clumsy, which I notoriously am. And if you know my videos, you'll know that I am constantly smacking the camera or dropping the cards. So let's lay some out. Let's see. I'll do my 9-card thing. Now, I do tend to sort of, like I said, not read reversals. And you're kind of guaranteed reversals when you're working with a round deck. But you're going to see I shuffled, but I'm still, not really very well shuffled. But because we're getting all pentacles and courts. But it's cool. It looks cool. It's a unique thing. I actually could see bringing this with me to one of the markets and reading with this is just a way of making someone go, oh, how cool. But yeah, I like it a lot. I think it's fun. I think it's cool. I think it's different within the context of it being a Waite Smith deck. So that is the Natural Ink Tarot, which is made in Maine by Martha Miller, and I will leave the creator's Etsy shop below. Hope you liked it, and we'll talk soon.